And now I would ask you a strange question. Who is the most diligent bishop and prelate in all England, that passes all the rest in doing his office? I can tell, for I know who it is. I know him well. But now I think I see you listening and hearkening that I should name him. There is one that passes all the other, that is the most diligent prelate and preacher in all England, and ye will know who it is. I will tell you. It is the devil.
Well, the year it's 1991. It seems that freedom's dead and gone. The power of the rich is held by few. You keep the young ones paralyzed, educated by lies. Keep the old ones happy with the news.
Hello, and welcome to the Christchurch Fox Chapel podcast.
Sing a song, tell the poet that she's wrong. In the court you'll win the case with lies, 'cause you sold them down the river.
Well, it's the fastest growing conservative, evangelical, charismatic,
Reformational
podcast in the entire Fox Chapel area.
Some ancient race I like to walk in ancient places. These are things that I can't understand. Well, I hope
where the devil is resident and has his plow going. There, away with the books and up with the candles. Away with the Bibles and up with the beads. Away with the light of the gospel and up with the light of candles. Yea, at noonday, and up with man's tradition and his laws. Down with God's tradition and his most holy word. Oh, that our prelates would be as diligent to sow the corn of good doctrine as Satan is to sow cockle and darnel.
A reading from Hugh Latimer there, accompanied, of course, by the celebrated Irish folk rock punk band The Levellers.
This is going to be really interesting to figure out how exactly this quote from Hugh Latimer and the Levellers incorporate with the man of lawlessness in 2 Thessalonians 2. But I came across this in my reading, and it just made me think of you, Alex.
I think it's quite self-evident how this applies, Ben.
I think that the
Cockles and darnel.
His word of Satan is sowing cockle and darnel, and where the devil is resident, where the devil's going, then away with books and up with candles, away with Bibles and up with beads, away with the light of the gospel and up with the light of candles, yea, at noonday. So he's like, Latimer is saying, all this, wherever the devil is really taken over, he's just sowing ceremonialism through the church and downplaying real preaching and the light of the gospel.
We've been looking at the man of lawlessness and the rebellion. Two things with a definite article in front of them: the rebellion, the man of lawlessness. And as we saw last week, a sign of the end of the age, or two signs of the end of the age, just before Christ returns, will be this globalist movement of some kind that replaces Christianity with religious show.
Yeah.
The religion becomes idolatrous. It's corrupted in some way. It probably even takes place within the church. And at the same time combines political power.
Yeah.
And so for anybody reading around the time of the Reformation, these would be very live concerns. You see that with the
Well, didn't they call the Pope Antichrist?
Indeed they did. And they were wrong, as it turns out.
Well, kind of. He was John, like First John mentions multiple antichrists.
Yeah, John's letters actually say it 4 different times. Yeah. You've heard that the Antichrist is coming. Even now, many antichrists have come.
Okay, so this is a really, 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 really difficult passage. And that is not my opinion, but the opinion of Leon Morris, who says...
this is a really difficult passage.
He says, he basically says that this is the most difficult passage in the New Testament, he thinks.
So we're doing it twice. And that was before we'd read Leon Morris. I think he's right. I think it's difficult. It's difficult because we're talking about things that have not happened yet. And when you try to imagine a thing that hasn't happened yet, it's very difficult to do.
Yeah.
That's just one of the many reasons. We're actually going to look today at some of the reasons why a person would not be prepared for the end of the world and why they might even miss what will objectively be very obvious signs, but yet somehow they might still miss them. So that reading's helpful. I think the levelers are helpful as well because they're talking about this modern era, as it was then, the late 80s, early 90s, of spin and news. And there's that wonderful little line where it says, you keep the young ones paralyzed, educated by your lies. You keep the old ones happy with the news. And this idea that you're just tuning in to watch the news, and it's an addictive thing that has an almost religious place in your life. It might have been noonday prayer in Latimer's day, but it was the 6 o'clock news when the levelers were writing their songs.
Clearly, people are not treating the news as religion nowadays.
It's only gotten worse.
It is a religion. Yeah, politics is a religion, complete with eschatology, sacraments, everything.
I think the only thing that could possibly usurp the world order more than the levelers were trying to do would be two conservative evangelical pastors playing their music to further a theological point they're trying to make from Scripture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
that's
for sure.
rebellion.
Yeah, with a little bit of a Reformation bishop, fiery preacher Hugh Latimer mixed in.
Fabulous. All right, so we've been there before. This is the point. Paul, a brief recap. Paul uses this word rebellion, the rebellion, to describe some definitive global movement at the end of the world, and this man of lawlessness to describe a globally significant figure who draws everybody to themselves. They're like a kind of world president of some kind, or world priest, or something. And obviously that's why the Pope would be accused in medieval worlds. But we've seen things like it before, for sure. We've seen rebellions. We have examined a couple of them in the sermon. We've seen men of lawlessness, and we've examined a couple of them in the sermon as well.
Yeah. Question, though. Mm-hmm. So Paul's talking a lot about the end of the world, right? Why is that? I've heard some skeptical scholars say, well, Paul clearly expected Jesus to come back within his lifetime, and then he didn't, and so therefore essentially it disproves the Christian claim. How do we respond to that? I mean, he's talking about something here that, from our vantage point, nearly 2,000 years later, we don't have any evidence that this has happened.
Right. I mean, so it's even more problematic because Jesus says, these things will pass away within this generation. This generation will not pass away before these things come to be. The scholarly answer would be that generation would mean an age of man, an aeon, or an epoch. Yeah. So the generation is the post-cross before return group of people, or the church, the generation of the church, something like that. Yeah. So as opposed to a 30-year period of a man having a kid.
Well, I think it was sort of a little bit of both, right? Because
every prophecy has an immediate, intermediate, and ultimate fulfillment.
So Jesus was talking about things that did happen within that generation. AD 70, the Romans came in and just threw the temple to the ground.
Yeah, in a very literal initial sense, Jesus says the temple will be destroyed. The temple is destroyed. The temple is destroyed, 35 years after Jesus said it. Yeah. So in a very basic sense, it did actually happen within a generation.
And then it gets, and then that intermediately, we've seen a lot of different characters that people would identify as man of lawlessness. So Jenna said that during your sermon on Sunday, there were some people, there was like a couple of people sitting behind her that were quietly debating whether Bill Gates was the man of lawlessness.
Well, so a lot of people
love it.
Being called Bill does seem to be a key thing.
Bill,
because Bill Clinton was accused of this, and Billy Graham was accused of this.
Bill
as well.
Musk.
Yeah.
Elon.
Is that some kind of...
It must be his real name.
His name is Bill.
Well, numerologically, if you apply it into gematria, it'll come out Bill, which is also 666.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know.
It's the lines, Ben. It's the barcode lines.
It's the barcode lines.
In an ultimate sense, the generation of the church will not pass away.
Yeah.
And so we find ourselves at this kind of end of the world battle between good and evil. And some people are very well prepared and some are not. Some people see these signs as very obvious, some do not. And we're going to just explore a little bit about how and why that would be.
Sorry, I keep interrupting, but I feel like it's a really hard thing to. We're talking about paying attention to the signs, but at the same time, Paul is like, he's dealing with a pastoral issue here.
Yeah.
People are freaking out,
They are.
and they've got all kinds of crazy theories, and so he's trying to take the temperature down, I think, a little bit.
Well, the Bill Gates people are definitely the beginning of this, right? Where he says, we ask you, brothers, not to be quickly shaken in mind or alarmed, either by a spirit or a spoken word or a letter seeming to be from us, to the effect that the day of the Lord has come. So clearly people have infiltrated the church and they've said, oh, it's happened and you missed it. And they're probably therefore identifying rebellions and men of lawlessness and saying, look, there they are. And they're wrong.
Yeah. Because they saw, they were under so much persecution, right? Like, and I think that there's got to be this sense of cataclysm going on. So, did the good guys already go meet the Lord in the air, like he described in the last letter, and we're just left over and things have just kind of gone to...
We would have seen it.
Yeah.
So, no, it hasn't happened, but I can understand why people might think it had, because things were really bad.
That's what he's saying, yeah.
Is it Bill Gates? No, it isn't. But here's why technologists like Elon Musk and Bill Gates are relevant to the discussion. Right, we're looking for a global event of some kind with a globally significant leader who transcends political and geographical borders and linguistic borders, all of those things. Right, this is one definitive new world order run by one definitive leader of some kind. Right, so when Latimer was writing, or reformers were accusing the Pope, I can understand that the Holy Roman Empire felt like a big deal.
Yeah.
Right. I can understand that the Bishop of Rome felt like a big deal, or Genghis Khan had felt like a big deal, or any of these names that we know, right? It felt like a big deal. But the thing is, they didn't actually have global reach. Not at all. And certainly nothing live. Genghis Khan could get a letter across his empire in 4 days by horse.
Yeah.
But his empire only stretched from, the middle of Europe through to the middle of Russia. It wasn't anything like the globe.
Yeah.
Now, technology today is advancing so quickly that there is the possibility of one person reaching the entire world in just a few minutes' time. It's possible to do, right?
Yeah. I mean,
this podcast is a great example of that.
I mean, this would, if I were to be making if I were to make the case that the events that are prophetically described here are not are within the next are coming up within the next 100 years, let's say, if I wanted to make that argument, it's been 2,000 years.
Yeah.
So to say that it's coming in the next 100 years is a pretty bold thing.
Very.
If I were to say that, just looking at history, I would say, okay, technological advancement in the last 150 years it's been like an exponential curve. It's just taken off.
Yes,
the
it's
world
been
is
incredible.
The difference between 1625 and 1725 pales in comparison to the difference between 1925 and 2025.
Yes.
The difference between 1825 and 1925 is massive.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this rapidly changing things, and then you have if I were to, here's my crackpot theory. This is not the word of God.
Okay, here we go.
Can I advance it?
Are your eyes going to bulge? Should we go and stand somewhere
what if
in the
it's
corner
AI?
downstairs? No, that's a legitimate question. That is a legitimate question for sure.
This is like just, I say this with no authority other than just like Ben's opinions.
Well, we don't know
or
the future,
thoughts,
so we don't know
speculations.
if the technology that we have right now will create some kind of world stalling crisis, like a war.
Yeah.
And we don't know if there'll be some kind of social backlash to it, and people will there'll be a rise of agrarianism. We'll all go back to growing things in the yard and deliberately de-technologize the world. We don't know if that could happen. Either of those things could happen. But what we do know is that this is some kind of global political system that co-ops religious language, probably draws in the church, and is focused on one person who is able to communicate with everybody all at once. So from our perspective, this was not a possibility in 1500.
Yeah.
But it is now. So it doesn't mean it's going to be in the next year or 100 years, because we don't know how that will pan out. And we certainly don't know what future technologies will be like in 200 years' time. But what we can say is it seems really unlikely that it could have happened yet. And it seems possible that it could happen now. Could we...
Yeah,
do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm not like it's this or that is that. It's just I'm just speculating, and it does seem like that we live in interesting times.
Yeah, and you can see why Bill Gates gets accused, right?
Right.
He owns half the farmland or whatever it is in America, and he's has about half. He has as much money as about half the population of the US, and he's doing all these things in Africa, and he's written this computing program that every single person uses, and you can see why he would be
massively influential.
Yeah,
but I think I think it's interesting that Paul takes all this kind of speculation, and the prophets the Hebrew prophets do give us this definitive sense that history is coming to an end, or it will come to an end, and the righteous in Him will be brought to him.
That's comforting, yeah.
And then, and there's going to be a judgment.
Yeah.
And so Paul says, don't be quickly shaken in mind or alarmed, either by a spirit, that means like a prophecy, right? Pneuma, or spoken word, or a letter seeming to be from us, to the effect that the day of the Lord has come. So like,
there are false revelations, false, seemingly spiritually inspired insights, but they're actually not. There are false speeches or false sermons, and there are false letters, false epistles, false gospels circulating to throw people off.
And I think the common denominator in all these things is that they become remarkably un-Christocentric.
Really quickly. They cease.
Christ gets thrown to the periphery of, suddenly you're dealing with this sort of like, just system of predictions.
Well, you can imagine how maddening it was for Latimer, for example. Just seeing his chief bishops going off to country retreats and feasting themselves on, pate and shooting a few grouse and getting drunk on cheap port and just completely abandoning the pulpits. And meanwhile, all the priests are just meddling around with candles and muttering things. And no one's preaching the word. You could see how maddening that would be and how that might feel like the end of the world. I mean, how that looks like the thing that's supposed to proclaim Christ has been replaced with flim-flam. You can totally see how that would feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, one, you've got this kind of deception thing going on. And we would say, look, this has only gotten worse because now anybody can publish anything they like instantly. Yeah. So we can relate to this. False things. I mean, the TikTok rapture, it's a great example. It's a silly thing, but it's a great example of how the notion that the world was about to end gained popular traction in just a matter of days.
Yeah.
So we're going to see more of this. I think we're going to see a lot more of this in our lifetime and our kids' lifetimes, is the ability to communicate ideas with people winsomely that are wrong is going viral.
Yeah.
And more, probably the algorithms actually accentuate the bad thing.
Yeah.
It rewards people who make malicious content.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is all very new. We didn't grow up, you and I, we didn't grow up with this. These tools were not available.
No.
Like if you wanted to make a video or a cine film, you had to borrow your dad's camera if he had one, or the school camera or whatever. And it was huge. You had to lug it around, and you had a few precious tapes, and you had to crash edit the thing to make a video. It was difficult. And then of course no one watched it.
Nope. Yeah.
Except your mum.
That's absolutely right.
All right. First thing, what should we say? Second thing, we've really talked about the man of lawlessness and the rebellion and what they actually are. So verse 7, we get down to this idea. Verse 5. Do you not remember that when I was with you, I told you these things? So seemingly they've forgotten. That's kind of funny.
And I think that there's also I wonder like if part of the reason this feels so disjointed to us is that like he's sort of following up on things that he like explained in depth in person.
And obviously their eyes glazed over, or it didn't compute or something, because he's like, do you remember how I told you these things? I guess not.
Apparently, wow, we never experienced that as a teacher in the youth group. Like a teacher of students. I never experienced that.
The mind like a sieve.
Yeah.
Well, so, you know, in our kids' case, part of it is the fact that they're simply bombarded with so much information now compared to what they had back then.
Yeah.
And our kids are just absolutely inundated with info.
Yeah.
The sheer amount of data that our children receive in a day. Staggering. I mean, it's actually, someone was saying it's doubled in their lifetime. Our teenagers, it's doubled in their lifetime.
Wow.
The amount of information that was available to them as a newborn compared to a teen is about double.
Wow. Okay.
It's remarkable. So, and about 10x from when we were born.
Wow.
So just vast amounts of information we can hardly comprehend. If you drive from our church to the Point,
Yeah.
you will have been inundated with significantly more information than a medieval peasant would get in a year.
Yeah.
Just from billboards, the radio, all the dials on your car, you know, you name it, the amount of information that's come your way. Signs and street signs and images and advertisements and warnings. Just unbelievable.
So, do you not remember when I was still with you? I told you these things?
No,
I couldn't remember
I
back
forgot.
then
No,
either.
don't remember.
And you know, verse 6, what is restraining him now so that he may be revealed in his time, for the mystery of lawlessness is already at work. Only he who now restrains it will do so until he is out of the way.
So it's a complex sentence.
Yeah, that's yes.
And not only is it a complex sentence, it's talking about quite a mysterious thing. What we can say is that someone is restraining this man of lawlessness, okay, and he's not yet been revealed.
So the climactic disobedience, the climactic rebellion against God in world history
Has not happened yet.
has not happened because there is a restraining of that wickedness, of the ultimate, of the personification or embodiment of that wickedness.
Yes.
By someone else.
Yes.
And he doesn't say who that person is.
He doesn't say who it is, and we don't have time to get into it. Daniel has some similar language in which maybe an angel is specifically in view.
Yeah.
But there is a restraining power from God. Ultimately, it's from God, whether it's God directly or whether it's God through an intermediary, such as an angel. The Lord is restraining this man of lawlessness and holding him back until his time comes. But he's already at work, which is why John says the Antichrist has not come, but antichrists have come. Little versions have been and gone and will continue to come and go.
So,
and those little versions are very dangerous. They're very potent. They're very able to deceive.
So, and we could say, and our man Leon Morris it says essentially that this idea of this man of lawlessness is in some ways, it's sort of like a cheap imitation or mockery of the incarnation, right?
Very much so.
And John talks about this in Revelation too, with the beast.
Yeah.
That it's Satan will make a mockery and an imitation of Jesus, of the incarnation of the Son of God, to sort of like show the embodiment of worldly power. And so we see him, we see all kinds of ways in which the devil is at work in the world right now.
Of course.
And sometimes individuals accrue power and become puppets in his mission, and that's antichrists.
It is antichrists, yeah. And don't forget that we're talking about a man of lawlessness. A singular figure is to come. One definitive antichrist will come.
So like a crescendo, almost like, yes, the rebellion, Satan's manipulations of our cosmos and our world are increasing, and it's going to keep. It's almost like the reverb is just increasing and increasing and increasing.
I love that image.
And it's going to build up into a wave at some point.
Right.
And it will be catastrophe in the most literal sense.
Right. And so just as with something like the rebellion, we've seen how global tools that we have available to us are potentially laying the groundwork for this to come about, right?
Yeah.
So too with the man of lawlessness. There are things perhaps in our culture that we can point to that would say, oh, I can see how that would work as well. So the personality cults in our politicians and things like that now, and our religious leaders, people quite frequently end up being disappointed by their religious leaders because they've confused their religious leaders with Christ. And so the undoing of all of these celebrity pastors is often because the pastors have become more important than the message.
And they and the pastors themselves, the leaders and people themselves, tend in a sense tend to embrace that.
Yeah, our political leaders certainly do. And I try not to give American examples because they're too divisive. But maybe Tony Blair may in Britain have been one of the first. He learned it from American politics. One of the first British prime ministers really to try and develop himself as a central political character that was inexorably linked with the movement. Because the man of lawlessness is linked with the rebellion. And so we see that, and it's not Tony Blair, by the way, but we see that with our politicians today, often linking themselves to their movements in very explicit ways. And interestingly, Leslie Newbigin, the missiologist, writing after the Second World War, he came up with a phrase, or he copied a phrase. Mark Sayers says that someone called Van Leeuwen came up with the phrase, but he copied a phrase, made it popular, that described this phenomenon of the political religious leader placing themselves at the center of the movement so that they are inexorably linked. And he called it ontocracy. Ontocracy, yeah. Like we know autocracy, right?
Autocrat.
An autocrat.
One person does that. What is ontocracy? What's an ontocrat?
So that would be...
Ontos is being?
Exactly. It's ontology. It's ontos. Not an antocrat. That would be where Lou Antos is in charge of the world.
Shout out to Lou Antos.
Which would be very nice. I like Lou. But an ontocrat would be someone whose personal being is at the center of the movement that they lead. And so Nebuchadnezzar is a great example of that in the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Maybe Stalin in the 20th century, something like that, 21st century. Stalin, something like that, maybe. Trying to think, Xi Jinping, someone like that. Kim Jong-un. This podcast is getting banned right now in several places, but
definitely Xi Jinping.
They're autocrats in the sense
Kim
that
Jong-il, Kim Jong-un. I'm just making sure that the algorithms pick us up on all these things.
just make some names up. But the notion would be that the well-being of the nation depends upon the well-being of the man, and not just the well-being of the nation, but the well-being of the world, if not actually the cosmos.
Yeah,
that the whole of the cosmos will collapse if this person goes down.
Yeah,
and the whole of the cosmos will thrive if this person does well. Egypt worked a bit like this, and it could be that we're moving into a time of politics now where this is again the case, where key figures are essential for the movement to work.
I mean, yeah, I can think of so many. I'll bite my tongue.
Well, you could pick people from both sides of the aisle. You could pick people from both sides of the aisle, and it's not always the person that we should be thinking about, but more their marketing PR people behind them.
Yeah, I was thinking of Elon Musk, and the I was listening to Founders podcast, and he was saying, well, electric cars are going to come about regardless. So, but we do kind of have like a limited time window with my existence here, in which that human life can become interplanetary.
He views that as his mission.
Yeah, he views it like he is like he's essentially saying it's not going to happen without me. Well,
we've always had great explorers, right, and great inventors.
Yeah.
What's interesting about him is that he's an explorer inventor. He's got the Leonardo da Vinci / Isambard Kingdom Brunel kind of inventiveness, like a great Renaissance or Victorian inventor, combined with the kind of Magellan, Drake, Shackleton exploring,
find the next frontier for humanity. Yeah, I mean, Hitler had. By the way, I'm not equivocating Elon Musk and Hitler, but Hitler saw himself in this way, that the creation of the 1,000-year Reich was dependent upon his unique giftings and calling in person.
Yeah.
That's probably a better example than Elon Musk, because he's not really an autocrat. He's not an autocrat or political figure. Well, I don't know. It's complicated.
It is.
And also, by the
Haile
way,
Selassie? I don't know. There are certain people, but
I'm speculating on this. I mean, we're not experts.
Well, I'm not saying any of those
political
people are the
ideologies.
Antichrist or even little Antichrist or like the Antichrist. None of those things. What I'm saying is
Just send us your emails, people.
What I'm saying is that ontocracy is a concept that was very ancient. We haven't really had for a while, and it's starting to have its ascendancy. And I'm wondering if the ascendancy of ontocracy is linked to the new media that we have. Just the fact that everybody has a screen in their pocket and people can communicate directly, winsomely with each other all around the world instantly, all the time. And so politics feels as though it's moving from a time of debate about policy and into a competition of personality.
Yeah.
And that is relevant to the thing that we're seeing right now. It doesn't mean the end is nigh, but it's reminiscent of some of the things we see right here. These would be cult leaders, only difference being that the cult is global.
And so maybe you could argue that some of that restraint is kind of going away a little bit, whatever the restraint was. And perhaps, I mean, we're close. We can say this, that we're closer to this happening than we were yesterday, just because time is going on.
True. And in terms of world events, there may be a backlash which makes it feel further away again. I mean, there are these doomsday clocks that tick down or tick up depending on how things are going.
Yeah.
But he is being restrained. One day that restraint gets removed and the lawless one is revealed. And the good news in verse 8.
I love this part. Yeah. Can I read it?
Yeah.
Whom the Lord Jesus will kill with the breath of his mouth and bring to nothing by the appearance of his coming.
This is Superman flicking Zod in the forehead with his finger and just sending him flying across the cave.
I almost think that that's more Superman's doing more action and trying harder than Jesus is here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's just like, he just shows up.
We're being shown here a ludicrous mismatch in this showdown.
Yeah.
Between one who is the Lord of all things and one who is a created fallen being. This man of immense power is nothing compared to the sovereign of the universe.
That's really important because I think oftentimes we're sort of, a lot of Christians are functional Manichees, right? The Manichaeanism was the ancient sort of heretical group that said good and evil are equal and opposite poles. Mm-hmm. So there's God, and then there's the demiurge, and who is the antithesis of good. Yeah. And so we're all caught in between one or the other. No, that's not the biblical story at all. No. It's almost like Satan is a little bug that just gets squished under the tennis shoe.
Compared to God, for sure. Yeah. Compared to us, frighteningly powerful. Here's another reason why people are going to be deceived. The coming of the lawless one is by the activity of Satan. So it's satanically inspired. Not Satan, it is a human. But there's a satanic power behind this. Maybe it doesn't say demonic; it says satanic. So all of
Satan.
Yeah, all of the power of the deceiver or the enemy or the opponent,
the accuser.
Is going to be the prince of evil spirits is going to be behind all of this. And some fascinating language with all power and false signs and wonders, and with all wickedness. I think there's a 2 sense units. I think that all gives you kind of a bit of mirroring here. So all power and false signs and wonders, that's 1 point. All wicked deception, that's 2 points. So that's a lot of power. In fact, it's all the power. So all power and false signs and wonders, these are words that are all used to describe the activity of Christ. Christ has power.
Signs and wonders.
It's energeia. It's not just power in an abstract sense, but applied power.
Wow.
You have false signs. These are and miracles. Probably these are false. Those are pseudo miracles.
He's a pseudo. It's a pseudo Christ.
It's a pseudo Christ doing pseudo things. So expect this global world leader who is an autocrat, who runs a new global world order, brings in, let's say, a global currency, a global law, global political system, maybe interstellar travel, global communication, global policing, global markets, global commerce, brings in all of these things, eradicates borders, eradicates languages, eradicates all of these things that divide us. And on top of all of that, is beloved by everybody because his image is everywhere and we have this technology that filters it all through for us. And on top of that is unopposed. And on top of that, your mum dies and you go to him and he brings her back to life.
It's a Babel sort of.
You're starving and he gives you food out of nothing. And you're having a wedding and it's gone horribly wrong because the caterers have disappeared and they've run off with the money. And he just turns up and makes the finest wine you've ever drunk. And this is the leader of the world. The global president comes round to your wedding hall and makes you wine. And then all the things that Jesus did, all of it.
So it brings down to this question: do we worship Jesus because of his signs and wonders, because of his power?
Right.
Or do we worship him because not only is he powerful, but he is good?
What does Children's Hospital look like when the man of lawlessness is in charge? It's empty. Because he just goes around the wards, healing kids. You can see the appeal. This is someone who has the ability to emulate the work of Christ. And so they're winsome in a political sense, that what they say has appeal and how they say it has appeal, but they back it up with signs.
Yeah. And yet it's evil.
Well, it's with all wicked deception. All of this power, all of these signs, all of these wonders are done with all wicked deception. So these are tricks. That, and we've seen this before. Pharaoh's magicians were able to do signs that approximated the ones that God was doing through Moses.
Yeah.
So we know that the forces of evil have the ability to deceive with seeming miracles. So you can see why people would fall for it, can't you?
Yeah.
You see the appeal. Okay. The wicked deception only works on one group. Those who are perishing. And the only reason it works is because they refused to love the truth and so be saved.
It reminds me of 1 Corinthians 1. Right? The word of the cross is folly to those who are perishing, but to those who are being saved is the power of God. So those who are perishing are those who reject the cross and refuse to love the truth.
Yeah.
And loving the truth in 2 Timothy the truth is identified with the gospel.
Yes.
So in Paul's language, that's what he means when he says the truth.
I've been watching the Chernobyl series, which I really love. And Valery Legasov says in the trial at the end of Chernobyl about deceit and lies and truth. Because the whole little TV series is really all about the fact that the Soviet hierarchy would rather lie and conceal the truth than deal with the problem. And of course, the problem is that once the problem's big enough, no amount of lying will actually change reality. And he says, every lie we tell incurs a debt to the truth. Sooner or later, that debt is paid. Here's the problem. This man of lawlessness who lies and deceives isn't actually Christ, no matter how much he looks like him. So eventually, it's going to come out. He can't save you. That's what he can't do. He can show off and he can make promises, but he can't save you. Because he hasn't taken on your sins. He hasn't been crucified for your sins. He hasn't borne the wrath of God for your sins. He hasn't paid the price for your sins.
Exactly. The man of lawlessness, all of these little salvific episodes are all occurring on a mortal dimension.
Yeah.
That will improve life here and now. And this is all neglecting the fact that human beings have an immortal soul.
Yeah.
That and human beings have to answer to God.
Yeah.
And we've sinned against God. That's our fundamental problem. And so we need, above healing, above provision and bread, we actually need propitiation.
Yeah, we do.
To have our sins covered. And so maybe that's the ultimate wickedness, is not the scary thing, but the thing that seems so good in almost every respect.
Yeah.
And yet doesn't go all the way.
It doesn't go all the way. You made a lovely little remark earlier about artificial intelligence, which is fascinating, because I think it just seems so other and so strange that, in a sense, it started to look a bit like God to us.
Claiming to heal diseases and stuff, yeah.
I mean, it's estimated, I think, that by 2030, about 30% of current jobs will have just disappeared because of AI. That it will be embedded in every domestic device, so not just your phone, but your fridge. It'll conduct 90% of healthcare screening and analysis and tasks, and provide therapy. Replace teachers, fight wars, run the markets, and through GPS and facial recognition, track our every move inside and outside of our homes, and will anticipate the needs of every person with eerie precision. It is a double-edged sword. It will amplify the human potential, but also amplify our flaws. And by the way, everything I just read out to you there was generated during this podcast by AI. It just wrote that with a prompt that took me a second to write it as you were speaking. Right now, we're fooling around with it. We're having it summarize the life works of Tolstoy in 500 words, getting it to draw us pictures of cats in space. But it might not seem so funny if you become unemployed and your fridge refuses to open for a snack.
Is that what it says?
Interestingly, yeah. My AI friend finishes this. I didn't ask it
or
to
your
do,
AI enemy.
Well, I didn't ask it to write what it writes right here. It's important to remember that AI will not be God. I didn't ask it to tell me anything about God. Isn't that a funny thing?
Yeah.
So I can't work out if it's trying to calm my nerves here or freak me out.
I think that, yeah, it creeps me out. I know that's very useful for a lot of things. Again, so as a social commentator on AI, I am not. I have no authority. But the authority is in the word, and if we know what the signs are and we know who the ultimate victor is, I think that's the best safeguard against deception.
Right. In order that all may be condemned, verse 12, who did not believe the truth but had pleasure in unrighteousness. And there's the punchline. If you believe the truth, you will not take pleasure in unrighteousness. But if you believe the lie, you will start to take pleasure in unrighteousness, and that will send you further down the spiral. So I think ultimately the reason why people don't see the signs is because they're descending deeper into the lie. And the lie is driving them behavior-wise into less and less sanctified behavior, which is corrupting their minds more and more. And they're becoming more and more enthralled to this device or this man or this movement or whatever it would be. So there's a sense in which reality is being amplified in one of two directions as we speak.
Yeah.
Francis Chan puts it this way: if you get it, you get it.
If you get it, you get it.
It's kind of good, isn't it?
That is good. Well, Thank you, Alex. It's a true tour de force on a very difficult and confusing passage. So thanks for your thoughtfulness.
Well, this has been a podcast of Christ Church Fox Chapel. Thanks for listening. We're glad that you would join us, and thanks for stopping by.
Stay classy.